It started as just another Sunday evening broadcast. The familiar voice of Mark Levin, sharp and unwavering, echoing through living rooms across America. But within minutes, something felt different. The tone was softer, the pauses longer. Viewers could sense that this wasn't going to be a typical segment filled with fiery political commentary or Levin's trademark takedowns. Instead, something raw and human was about to unfold. The moment came suddenly. As Levin looked into the camera, his voice cracked, not from anger this time, but from something far deeper. He took off his glasses, wiped his eyes, and for the first time in his long television career, his audience saw a side of him few ever imagined. Vulnerable, emotional, and utterly sincere. "I can't do this anymore," he said quietly. The studio fell silent. Producers froze. Millions of viewers leaned in closer, unsure if they were witnessing a prank, a powerful on-air statement, or the end of an era. As his words poured out, it became clear that this wasn't a scripted stunt or a publicity trick. It was real. Levin spoke about exhaustion, not the kind cured by a weekend off, but the kind that seeps into your bones after decades of pressure, conflict, and living in the public eye. "You try to fight for what's right," he said through tears, "but sometimes the fight consumes you." Those words hit hard. Coming from one of conservative media's most unyielding voices, it was a confession that no one expected. Scenes of the moment spread like wildfire across social media. Hashtags like hashtag #MarkLevinResigns and hashtag Fox News Meltdown began trending within minutes. Viewers flooded the comments section, some offering heartfelt support, others expressing disbelief or even mockery. But regardless of political stance, everyone could agree on one thing. They had just witnessed something historic. What made the moment even more surreal was how the Fox News control room handled it. Instead of cutting to a commercial, they let it play out. The camera stayed fixed on Levin as he gathered himself, thanked his viewers, and hinted that this decision had been a long time coming. There was no dramatic music, no network statement scrolling across the bottom, just silence, sincerity, and a man finally confronting his own limits. By the time the segment ended, the internet was already ablaze with speculation. Was it burnout? A dispute with Fox executives? A health issue? Or something more ideological? A moral crossroads that even the great Mark Levin could no longer ignore. Whatever the reason, one thing was certain. This was more than just a resignation. It was a turning point in the narrative of American media, the night when one of its most powerful voices chose to step away, not with anger, but with tears.
Long before that emotional night, the signs had been there, subtle, almost invisible to most viewers. Mark Levin, the man once celebrated for his unshakable voice and unrelenting confidence, had started to sound weary. His monologues, though still fiery, carried undertones of frustration, as if each word was being pulled from a deeper emotional place. Insiders at Fox began whispering that Levin had grown disillusioned, not just with the media landscape, but with what he felt it had become. Over decades in broadcasting, Levin had built a reputation as one of the most consistent conservative commentators in America. He wasn't just another host. He was a movement. Fans tuned in religiously, drawn to his fierce intellect and unfiltered honesty. But behind the scenes, those close to him noticed the toll it was taking. Every argument, every controversy, every viral moment of outrage, it all stacked up. For years, Levin carried the weight of being both a defender and a target. And that pressure, quietly but steadily, began to eat away at him. Friends described him as someone deeply principled, a man who believed in truth above all else. But what happens when you feel that truth no longer matters? Sources close to the network claimed that Levin had grown increasingly frustrated with editorial constraints, feeling that the heart of debate was being replaced by clickbait headlines and corporate interests. The firebrand who once thrived on confrontation began questioning whether the fight was still worth it. Then came the turning point, a series of personal and professional blows that left Levin shaken. Behind his trademark glare, there were struggles most viewers never knew about: health scares, family challenges, and the emotional burnout of a man who'd given everything to his craft. The same passion that made him unstoppable also made him vulnerable. He wasn't the type to step away easily. Walking off that stage meant letting go of a part of himself. People who worked with Levin say that he'd been preparing for that moment for weeks, perhaps even months. He dropped hints on air about needing to take a step back, about the noise becoming too loud. But nobody thought he meant it literally. When he finally broke down on live television, it wasn't weakness, it was release. The culmination of years of pressure that had finally reached its limit. In that moment, Mark Levin reminded viewers of something rarely seen in modern media: humanity. Beneath the headlines, beneath the debates and the ratings wars, there was a man who had reached his edge. And instead of hiding it behind a polished smile, he let the world see him exactly as he was: tired, emotional, and real.
The morning after Mark Levin's emotional on-air resignation, major media outlets scrambled to understand what happened. Fox News remained quiet, offering no official statement, just silence. Outside the network, the noise was deafening. Twitter exploded, and YouTube clips of Levin racked up millions of views. Talk shows, podcasts, and online pundits rushed to interpret the event, each through their own lens. Some called it a moment of courage, a rare display of vulnerability from a man known for his iron will. Others painted it as a symptom of burnout in an industry that never lets its stars breathe. But there was another, more complicated reaction, one that spoke volumes about the state of media itself. For many viewers, Levin's breakdown reflected how emotionally exhausting the news cycle had become. If someone as strong-willed as Mark Levin could break, what did that say about everyone else under constant bombardment of outrage and chaos? Rival networks seized the moment. MSNBC analysts called Levin's words a glimpse into the crumbling facade of right-wing media. CNN ran a segment titled, "When the Camera Doesn't Turn Off: The Human Cost of Cable News." Independent creators on YouTube uploaded commentary videos like Mark Levin's Fall: The Truth About Cable Media Pressure. Overnight, Levin's name became a symbol of exhaustion in a system addicted to conflict. Behind closed doors, insiders claimed Fox executives were blindsided, despite rumors of Levin's frustrations with management. His departure left a massive hole in the network's lineup. Levin was a brand and a loyal audience magnet. Losing him meant losing a voice that connected directly with millions of conservative viewers who trusted him. But the media reaction wasn't purely cynical. Some powerful commentary came from unexpected places. Prominent journalists, even those who disagreed with Levin's politics, expressed empathy, tweeting, "No one should have to break on camera to be heard." That sentiment resonated far beyond the political bubble, humanizing those audiences had long seen as unshakable. The story evolved, with analysts questioning if this was a warning sign of a toxic media environment. Others wondered if Levin's emotional honesty could inspire a cultural shift toward authenticity on air. Perhaps this breakdown was the beginning of a new transparency, where media personalities could admit they're human, too. As the noise faded, one truth remained: Mark Levin had changed the conversation. Not through argument, but through a moment of silence, a tear, and a truth too heavy to ignore. For decades, Mark Levin was more than a television personality. He was a force. A former Reagan administration official, best-selling author, and the unmistakable voice behind Life, Liberty, and Levin, his influence stretched across radio, television, and the conservative movement itself. To his fans, he wasn't just a commentator. He was a teacher, a man who broke down complex political issues into moral battles of right and wrong. And for many, that clarity was comforting in an increasingly chaotic world. But what makes Levin's story so compelling isn't just his success, it's how he achieved it. Unlike the polished anchors who played to both sides, Levin wore his conviction like armor. He didn't care about appeasing critics or chasing approval. His loyalty was to his audience and to the ideals he believed built America: freedom, faith, and fierce individualism. Yet, that same conviction may have been what ultimately broke him. Conservative media has always walked a fine line, balancing truth with ratings, passion with responsibility. And as that line blurred over the years, even the most steadfast voices began to feel trapped. For Levin, who built his reputation on integrity and authenticity, the industry's slow shift toward sensationalism must have felt like betrayal. What once felt like a platform for truth-telling had become a stage for spectacle. In the weeks leading up to his resignation, several close colleagues noticed a shift in his tone. He spoke more often about disillusionment, about how the fight for truth has become a fight for attention. That comment, once dismissed as frustration, now feels prophetic. The industry he helped shape had evolved into something he could no longer stand behind without compromising who he was. Still, Levin's legacy is undeniable. He inspired generations of conservative thinkers and gave voice to millions who felt ignored by mainstream media. His fiery debates and razor-sharp logic shaped public discourse for years. Even critics admitted, whether you agreed with him or not, that Mark Levin made you think. He was the embodiment of conviction in an age of conformity. His resignation forces a difficult question for conservative media as a whole. Has the movement lost sight of its purpose? In chasing clicks, outrage, and dominance, did it drift away from the principles that first fueled it? Levin's emotional departure wasn't just about personal exhaustion. It was a mirror held up to an entire ecosystem. It revealed the cost of constant conflict, not just to the viewers, but to the voices themselves. And yet, there's a powerful irony in how it ended. By breaking down, Levin may have accomplished what few broadcasters ever do. He reminded people that authenticity still matters. That beyond politics, beyond ideology, there's something universally relatable about admitting you've had enough. In that moment, his voice, often accused of being too harsh, became the most human it had ever been. When history looks back on Mark Levin, it won't just remember the debates, the fiery monologues, or the best-selling books. It'll remember the night he stopped speaking not out of defeat, but out of truth. Because sometimes, walking away is the loudest statement of all. Mark Levin's resignation from Fox News on October 15, 2025, shocked the media landscape, leaving many to ponder the future. After Levin's tearful resignation, the question on everyone's mind was simple. What happens now? For Fox News, Levin, and millions of viewers, this moment left a void. But in moments of collapse, opportunity often rises from the wreckage. Fox executives faced an immediate crisis with the departure of a prominent conservative voice. Levin's show, Life, Liberty, and Levin, was a cornerstone of their weekend lineup, a ratings powerhouse. Losing him wasn't just about numbers. It was about Fox's identity and connection with its audience. They faced a choice: replace him or evolve the network's tone. Levin's exit started a conversation, forcing the network to consider its future. Speculation swirled around Levin's next move. Would he retire or embark on a new chapter? Some suggested he might pivot to independent media, launching his own digital platform. This could involve video podcasts, essays, interviews, or a paid membership community. Others believed he would take a sabbatical, regroup, and return revitalized. Powerful voices like Levin's rarely disappear. They adapt, evolve, and find new battlegrounds. The most profound shift wasn't in studios, but within the audience itself. Viewers who followed Levin began reflecting on their relationship with the media. Many admitted exhaustion from endless outrage and the constant us versus them narrative. Levin's emotional moment became a mirror, prompting people to ask, have we gone too far? Perhaps the world needed less shouting and more listening. Levin's resignation might mark the beginning of a reckoning in political media. His tears were a wake-up call, highlighting the real people behind debates and their burdens. They reminded everyone that even strong voices sometimes need to step back to rediscover purpose. Tributes poured in, acknowledging his significant impact on the media landscape. Former colleagues thanked him for mentorship, and fans expressed gratitude. Even critics acknowledged Mark Levin's unmatched impact. His story became about renewal, that walking away can be the beginning of something honest. His final words, sometimes the fight consumes you, resonated deeply. In that moment, Mark Levin wasn't a pundit. He was human. That humanity might spark a shift towards more authentic discourse in media.